Okay, so what we have here, and I've magnified it, is that this is the new wireless pacemaker. This actually is an older generation intracardiac, meaning inside the heart, defibrillator lead that you can actually pace off of. This other lead, which actually is a subcutaneous lead, meaning that it's underneath the skin, and it can sense heart activity, and it can tell when the heart kind of has a little fit and goes real fast with either ventricular tachycardia or ventricular fibrillation, which is how people die from heart disease. So it'll sense it and then it will shock it. But it's underneath the skin, in front of the chest, underneath the skin, and it can sense that. That's the newer generation defibrillator. He has an older generation defibrillator, which is now defunct. It doesn't work anymore. And he was having episodes of slow heartbeat, and because this defibrillator pacemaker was malfunctioning, that is inside his heart, we chose to put in the newer generation pacemaker that is wireless and leadless. Leadless meaning it's not connected with a cable like these other ones were. Okay, you can see now on this other picture, you can see there's these cables. This is inside this patient's heart, okay? And so that's coming down from the superior vena cava, which is the large pipe that dumps blood low in oxygen from your upper body, comes into the right atrium, which is the right upper chamber of the heart, goes into the right ventricle. And then in the right ventricle, it's literally screwed into the muscle, and that's how the defibrillator would work. There's two little what we call electrical coils that deliver energy across the heart when needed to shock the heart and keep the patient from having a sudden death event, as we call it. Now, this is a picture pacemaker, and again, if you take and enlarge this picture, what you're seeing here is this is a little electrode right there, that black part, and then that is connected to a printed circuit board, and then there's a battery. On the average, that battery has about 10 years of life. And the other side of this, okay, there's a little ring here, and that's where it is tethered to this delivery device, which I'll show you here. Now, this is the delivery device we brought up from the vein in the groin to deliver this device. And there's a little cup here, and what you don't see is there's two little kind of like umbilical cords or lifelines that are still connected to this device. So what we did is we initially implanted it right here, and again, if you magnify it, what you can see, if you look real close, these look like little tentacles on the bottom of it, and that's how you get it to catch onto the heart. This little lead right here on the bottom by the tentacles on this butts up against the heart muscle, and then you can deliver an electrical signal right through that. It would be just like you grabbing a hold of an AC cord and getting shocked, okay? Only the amount of voltage and amperage coming out of this is much, much less. But it's enough to stimulate the heart to contract the heart muscle. So, now why is this going to be such a revolutionary breakthrough? Well, the main reason is primarily twofold. One is that you no longer will have this cable connected to up below your collarbone. You have like a battery and a little mini computer that's underneath your skin, is what traditional permanent pacemakers and defibrillators are nowadays. All of that will be eliminated. That won't be necessary, so you take out of the equation the risk of infection, or you greatly minimize it, because all you're doing is spending about 15 minutes through the blood vessel in the groin, and when you're done, you take everything out and just leave the pacemaker in place. So you minimize infection, number one, and number two, When you put a foreign body like this cable for a pacemaker in a vein, it increases the risk of a blood clot forming in the vein. And if a blood clot forms in one of the main veins leading to the heart, it then can result in a swollen arm and all sorts of problems and issues, and clot can break loose and go up into your lungs and cause what's called a pulmonary embolus. So all of that, probably once this technology is completely evolved, will eliminate those potential complications of pacemakers. Now granted, those complications are relatively low. They're in single-digit percentages, but they're still very real, and when they do occur, they're a problem. And so this device will greatly minimize the likelihood of any of that type of thing happening. The first generation, which is what this device is, right here, and now you notice that it's up here as opposed to we had it down here. What we did is we just detached it and brought it back with the little tether cords and put it in a different spot because we didn't like the electrical conduction that we were getting down here in this part of the heart muscle. And it was probably because there was some scar tissue around there from the old defibrillator lead that was in there. So we put it up higher on the partition between the right and left ventricle, the lower chambers of the heart, called the septum, and we were able to get really good pacing electrical thresholds to get very good, solid, accurate pacing of the heart. So then once we realized that it was good there, and we had the tentacles attached, what we do is on this tether cord that's there, we tug on the tether cord and see if we see these little tentacles flex. And if the little tentacles flex, we know that that the heart has a hold of it, and it's not going to break loose or anything like that. So then once we notice that, then we outside the body, we cut the tether cord, and then we just pull it out, take the sheath out, and that's it. Patient can probably go home in about an hour. So, not all patients who need pacemakers are candidates for this, is because this does not, in its present form, first generation form, have the capability to sense electrical activity occurring in the upper chambers of the heart. And one of the things that we strive to do is have biofeedback of the electrical signal that the heart is generating, and the pacemaker then has to follow the lead of what the heart is doing with its electrical activity. We can't have them fighting each other when one trying to run the rhythm of the heart and the other one is too. So pacemakers have been designed, particularly the ones that have leads on them, such that they talk to each other. So if the upper chamber of your heart delivers a signal to pace the heart, and it goes from the right upper to the left upper, goes down through the junction box between the upper and lower chambers, and then it gets blocked there, pacemakers can sense that and understand that. And then they say, okay, come on signal, let's go, let's go. If it doesn't, it says, okay, I'm taking over. Boom, it'll give the lower chambers a signal. And as opposed to if the upper chambers decide they quit, okay, which happens not uncommonly, then the upper chamber lead will say, hey, where's the signal? It's not here. Okay, I'm taking over. So it'll send out a signal. It'll go through the upper chambers of the heart, down to the junction box, and then if it goes through the junction box down to the lower chambers, then the lower chamber pacemaker doesn't do anything. It waits on it and it says, okay, you're not coming. Okay, so I'm taking over again. Okay, and it does that with every heartbeat. It's amazing technology. The processing power of today's modern pacemakers has about the same processing power as a laptop that you owned in the late 90s. So that, and it's about the size of 2 stacked up silver dollars. So it's just incredible nanotechnology.